All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT practice question series where we're going through another set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. We also have BCBA materials available on our channel, so check those out as well. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Jeremiah used to scream as loud as he could in order to get his dad's attention. After weeks of extinction, this behavior eventually reduced to zero. Then, yesterday, Jeremiah screamed as loud as he could for his dad. What occurred yesterday? The question is specifically asking about yesterday. Remember, we always start, what is the question asking? Well, they want to know what happened yesterday. We know yesterday, Jeremiah screamed as loud as he could for his dad. And why is that relevant? Well, we know before Jeremiah used to scream as loud as he could to get attention. And then that behavior was put on extinction and that behavior went away. So we have a behavior functioning for for attention. That behavior's put on extinction and that behavior goes to zero, which is great. But then yesterday, out of nowhere, that behavior suddenly comes back. What term do we use to describe this phenomenon? A, extinction. Extinction was the intervention we used to reduce the behavior. So once we identified the behavior as a problem, we identified the function, then we put the behavior on extinction, which is withholding reinforcement, to try and reduce the behavior. What about B, an extinction burst? The extinction burst happens as a result of extinction, where the behavior temporarily increases at first. We're at the point where that behavior has already been reduced due to extinction. Extinction's already been effective. So what we're looking at now is this idea of spontaneous recovery, where we have a behavior that was put on extinction, that went extinct, and then suddenly came back. It spontaneously recovered out of nowhere. And so what do we do in a situation where a behavior that was gone suddenly reemerges? Well, ideally, you're going to put that behavior back on extinction. That's the ideal intervention. And then D, reinforcement. We're not sure if reinforcement took place as a result of Jeremiah's behavior. We just know Jeremiah engaged in that behavior. And Jeremiah engaged in that behavior due to what we consider spontaneous recovery, the sudden reemergence or reoccurrence of a behavior that was previously extinct. Yesterday, a behavior technician inadvertently provided their client access to a toy that is supposed to only be used on the weekends. Now, the client is engaging in tantrum behavior when the toy is removed. What would be the best course of action for the technician to take? So we're thinking about the best course of action for the technician. Well, what is the technician trying to do? Or what is the situation? Situation is the tech inadvertently, meaning accidentally or unintendedly, provided the client access to a toy that's supposed to be only used on weekends. Now, the client engages in tantrums when the toy is removed. So effectively, the technician has created this behavior by accidentally providing access to a toy that the client was not supposed to have access to. So in your situation, if you're the behavior technician and you, let's say, accidentally reinforce a behavior you weren't supposed to, or you punish something you weren't supposed to, you just make a mistake, which everybody does, right? What course of action should you take? A, begin punishing the tantrum and withholding the tangible. Well, it's not the technician's job to figure out how to respond to the behavior now that it's happening. The technician should definitely not start punishment. Punishment's the last resort after everything else has been ruled out. So A is definitely a no. B, begin reinforcing functional communication for access to the tangible. Again, brand new behavior that emerged because the technician accidentally gave access to this toy. It is not the technician's role to start to design or implement any specific interventions. C, put the behavior on extinction and contact their supervisor immediately. Yes, if anything, that behavior needs to be put on extinction, meaning no reinforcement should be given, right? We're not punishing, we're not reinforcing, we're not giving anything, no consequence as far as punishment or reinforcement goes to that behavior. And then more importantly, they need to contact the supervisor immediately to see how they should proceed. And then D, let the parents know what happened and ask for assistance in removing the tangible. It's not the technician's job to get the parents involved in this situation. Of course, if the behavior becomes extreme, as in like self injury or property destruction, maybe, but just a simple tantrum that the technician inadvertently caused does not need or does not call for the technician letting the parents know and asking for assistance. What the technician needs to do is think about the task list in the code, which says ongoing constant communication with the supervisor and knowing your role. And the role here of the technician is to let the supervisor know the situation and avoid, at all costs, reinforcing this new behavior. Lorenzo is memorizing the Gettysburg Address and has asked his friend to help shape his behavior. Lorenzo is trying to learn 1 line per day and has up to 9 total lines memorized from the beginning. What approximation should his friend shape next? So we have a shaping question, and we want to deal with this word approximation. What do we mean by approximation? Well, in shaping, we're reinforcing what we call successive approximations, meaning we have a final behavior or what we call a terminal behavior. In this case, it's memorizing the Gettysburg Address. Each time Lorenzo gets closer to that Gettysburg Address, that is an approximation. So what we know so far is Lorenzo is trying to learn 1 line per day and has 9 total lines memorized, meaning Lorenzo can, from memory, say 9 lines. So what's the next approximation that his friend is going to shape? A, any line that Lorenzo is able to say unprompted. Well, Lorenzo, we know, can say 9 total lines memorized, meaning he likely doesn't need a prompt for that. So reinforcing any line said is not going to get us closer to our terminal or final behavior. B, the 9th line that Lorenzo says from the beginning. Well, we already know Lorenzo knows 9 lines. So it doesn't do us a lot of good if we're trying to shape the next approximation if we're shaping what Lorenzo already knows. So C, the 10th line that Lorenzo says from the beginning, is much more applicable. The 10th line, if Lorenzo is trying to gain 1 line per day and knows 9 lines, is going to be the next approximation. So when Lorenzo says the 10th line, that's when his friend should start shaping. And then D, whenever Lorenzo is able to say the entire address by memory, well, now we're jumping way ahead. And when we say shaping, right, we mean differentially reinforcing behavior. So for C, which is our answer, the 10th line that Lorenzo says is going to be given reinforcement, while what Lorenzo already knows, which is 9 lines, won't necessarily be reinforced. So the approximation, based on this information, that the friend should shape next is going to be the 10th line that Lorenzo says from the beginning. There's a $200 fine for parking in staff parking if you are a student. Despite this, Jeremy, a student, has parked in staff parking every day for 3 months. What is the likely consequence of Jeremy parking in staff parking? Now let's think about this. It's a consequence question, right? So we're dealing with things like reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. And we know Jeremy continues to park in staff parking. So immediately, that's a giveaway, right? Because Jeremy has been doing this for 3 months. So his behavior is continuing, it's maintaining, might be increasing. All we know is this behavior is being reinforced. If Jeremy was actually getting this fine and his behavior was decreasing, then there's a good chance his behavior was being punished. Or if his behavior was decreasing for another reason, maybe his behavior is being put on extinction. But that's not what is occurring. Jeremy is parking in this spot every single day for 3 months. Therefore, something must be maintaining Jeremy's behavior. So the likely consequence of Jeremy parking in staff parking is going to be A, reinforcement. Again, it's not going to be B or C, punishment or extinction, because punishment and extinction both work to decrease behavior. Jeremy's behavior is not decreasing. It's maintaining at the least and increasing at the most. Therefore, Jeremy's behavior, the consequence for Jeremy's behavior, is very likely A, reinforcement. You want to use a time-based measurement to keep track of events related to your client's on-task behavior while sitting at a desk. Which of the following measurements should you not use? Kind of an interesting question here. All right. First off, it's a measurement question and it's a not question, meaning we're looking for a measurement we are not going to use. So very likely 3 of these we will use. And the key here is not the client's behavior, it's time-based. Okay, so we're looking for measurements that are time-based And then we're looking for the one that isn't, because that's the one we aren't going to use. A, latency. Is latency time-based? It is. We're measuring the time in between the SD and the first response. A is time-based. A is fine. What about B, inter-response time? Inter-response time is the time in between first response and second response and third response, so on and so forth. Inter-response time is time-based. It can help keep track of events. B is fine. What about C, duration? Duration is obviously time-based. It's the length of time of a response. So C is fine. What about D, frequency? Well, frequencies account. Frequency is not time-based. If we were using rate, rate is a combination of count and time. But we don't have rate. We have D, frequency. So the measurement we should not use if we're looking for a time-based measurement is going to be D, frequency. Thank you for watching. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. When you pass your exam, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Check out our BCBA materials once you pass your RBT exam. As always, work hard, study hard. We'll see you soon.